Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, you guys, and thank you so much for watching. I'm Jade if you're new here, and today I wanted to talk about the just concluded Europe 2020, I should say, where England lost to Italy. The game on its own was fierce, and as I think both teams did a fantastic job trying to win. Now, in a normal world, in a normal setting, players who missed their kick and players who couldn't score for their countries usually spend a big part of their time beating themselves up for failing to actually help defend the country or win. They typically wouldn't be singled out by their fans and abused and trashed and attacked. The fans were acting as if England, and that's the thing that really got to me in this entire situation. The fans were acting as if England had won this game before, that they had continued to win this game before, and that these black players are the reason why they lost this time. Now, here's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that England has never won the Euro Games. They've never won it, never. Matter of fact, this is the first time that they've reached the finals of the competition. They've never won it, okay? And the only major trophy that England has ever won came in 1966 when they won the World Cup. So these racist people going online attacking players, attacking people who were just really doing their best to make sure that they win, it's sickening. These racists made it seem as though the players ruined their winning streak, and so they just started lashing out. I guess they were just going by the example that their Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the royal family have set for them. We've all seen Boris Johnson go on, perpetuating the culture war that further divides people. As for the royal family, I mean, let's just say we've seen Meghan and Harry's interview. So I'm going to go ahead now and play this news report. This is such a disgusting thing. I'm not even surprised, honestly. And I have been to the UK several times. And as a New Yorker, I know racism. We talk about it all the time, and it's something that you experience, and I'm very, very aware of racism as a New Yorker, like I said, but I have to tell you, the kind of racism that is prevalent in the UK is one that I personally, I have never experienced. It's very covert, and speaking about it, or even, even acknowledging it makes you seem like a crazy person. And that is really, really dangerous. So I'm going to go ahead and play this news reporting, and then I'll be back.
Italian soccer fans around the world are celebrating after Sunday's dramatic Euro 2020 final win over England. Now, Italy won the game on penalties after a tense 1-1 tie. But the three English players who missed their penalty kicks have been targeted by a torrent of racist abuse online. Redmond Shannon reports from London.
After England's defeat, head coach Gareth Southgate would have expected to be fielding questions about the penalty shootout. But instead, much of the media attention focused on the racism directed at his players.
They should be, and I think they are, incredibly proud of what they've done. For some of them to be abused is unforgivable, really.
Prince William, the president of the English Football Association, said he was sickened by the racist abuse aimed at the three players who missed their kicks. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has condemned it too, but some critics are accusing his government of hypocrisy. During the Euros, a sizable minority of England fans booed their own players for taking a knee in the name of racial equality, something Johnson hesitated in condemning. His Interior Minister also refused to do so.
At the beginning of this tournament, you saw the government engaging what can only be called a culture war, taking a culture war position against the taking of the knee. And I think people remember that. People remember that it's all debatable, that you don't have to take the knee because the Prime Minister and the government don't agree with it. And so therefore, somehow in their minds that also gives them some kind of freedom to be abusive when it comes to black players in particular.
And it's true, because a lot of these play, a lot of these fans, many of them have very low IQ, and so they are easily influenced, they are easily manipulated, they are very, very impressionable, and they literally take whatever the leaders of the country is saying to them. We have also seen many of them in Trump's world as well.
Online racist abuse has dogged English soccer for years. The UK government is promising legislation to hold social media giants to account. But this sad end to England's historic run is a reminder of why players are taking a knee in the first place. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
British police have opened an investigation into racist attacks made against players from England's soccer team 1 day after they lost in the Euro final. The abuse is dominating tomorrow's front pages in the UK, which are already out tonight. The Daily Mirror says the ugly face of football returns. The Sun writes, "We've got your back." And according to the Times, tech giants told to hand over details of football races. Much of that hate and hostility is online. Here's CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver.
They were high-stakes penalty kicks that did not go as planned for England. And for the 3 black English players who missed, the defeat set off a slew of racial attacks and online abuse.
They should be, and I think they are, incredibly proud of what they've done. For some of them to be abused is unforgivable, really.
The racist remarks were largely leveled online, with Twitter saying more than 1,000 posts have been removed in the last 24 hours. But in Marcus Rashford's hometown of Manchester, a mural honoring his fight against childhood poverty was defaced.
3 heroes of the country, you know, and just to feel that we're still having to fight against this in this day and age just upsets me, and it upsets everybody in and around it.
The men are part of a young team that's been celebrated for its diversity and push for equality, but one that has also faced repeated harassment. Throughout the Euro Championship, players have taken a knee in support of the fight against racial inequality, and in some cases, they were met with boos from their own fans.
The Prime Minister said that it was okay for the population of this country to boo those players who were trying to promote equality and defend against racism. It starts at the very top.
While the British Prime Minister did not condemn that behaviour, he did offer a stern message today.
I said, shame on you, and I hope you will crawl back under the rock from which you emerged.
Prince William, whose own family has been accused of discrimination, also weighed in, saying he was sickened by this abhorrent behaviour.
It's just disappointing, but we've said it how many times now, for how long? At some point, something has to change. Not only English fans, but fans all over the world to understand that these things are not allowed anymore.
In May, England's Premier League took a social media boycott over online racism, and these recent attacks have put even more pressure on social media companies to better hold their users accountable. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
One of the players who took part in that boycott was Marcus Rashford, who, as you heard, was at the receiving end of that online invective after yesterday's game. He plays for Manchester United, one of the top soccer teams in the world. Between September 2019 and February 2021, Man U says there has been a 350% surge in online abuse targeting its players. I want to bring in London-based diversity and inclusion commentator Afia Adam. Ms. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. This is clearly an issue that is getting worse. What role do social media companies play in dealing with posts that are vile, offensive, and really quite racist?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter have a huge responsibility in making sure that people who perpetuate this kind of racist abuse online are not only caught and not only their accounts deactivated, but they are prosecuted and they are called out, named and shamed. Out of nearly 1 million tweets last night that were analysed during an hour of the England game, 2,000 of those had racist undertones. That is absolutely disgusting. And what else you're finding is that, Instagram, for instance, were saying that there was so much abuse online that they have bots to identify the abuse as opposed to human beings. And therefore things like monkey emojis or bananas were being missed because the bots don't think that they are racist because of the way they're being used. So the social media companies need to stop using bots and use actual human beings to spot this racism and call out and report these comments and have them removed.
You described a kind of double devastation in a tweet this morning, saying you had to explain to your daughter not only that England had lost, but you also had to have yet another conversation about racism and online trolls.
It's so exhausting because in 2021, I would have thought that we were beyond this. But what this just proves is that we take 2 steps forward and we take 80 steps back. But what it also proves to me that in this country, as a black British person, you have no room for error. That you have to get everything absolutely perfect and then you're considered British. But the moment that something goes wrong, you're black, and they will remind you that you're black, and they will use that against you.
And so how do you ensure that there are more tolerant tomorrows?
Only by really calling it out and really saying to people that you have to be anti-racist. It's not enough just to not say it yourself, and it's not enough just to not support people who say it. We actively all become anti-racist. That is the only way that we can turn this around.
A reckoning on race not only in England, but in this country and around the world as well. Ms. Adom, thank you so much for your time and perspective.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me read some comments before I continue. Hi, good evening, everyone. This reminds me of Ozil. Afalake says they should give them a pat on the back for making it to the final stage of the tournament. It's subtle. Yeah, the racism in the UK, it's incredibly subtle. It's incredibly overt. And it just made me sick every time I went there. Every time I went to the UK, and I'm sorry to anyone who lives in the UK, but, I'm always going to call it like it is. It always just made me feel so sick to my stomach to see some of the things going on, to see how overt they are, like in New York, right? You bump into a white person, if they are rude and you are rude, like you guys can just shoot each other like a really nasty mean look and you be on your way. But the way it is in the UK, like it's so sickening to me, especially because I'm not used to that kind of lifestyle. It's so sickening to me, and nobody ever wants to talk about it. People just want to pretend as if this thing does not exist, as if you pretend hard or long enough, it'll go away. No, it's not going away. That is the one thing that I like about America and Canada, addressing racism head on. Addressing it, facing it is really the only way. You have to, because a lot of people don't even understand that some of their actions has racist undertones. They don't know because they've been so used to it, probably how they were raised, probably, growing up in a home. I watched one interview, one documentary one time. It was about a small town. And so they were asking this, something big happened, and it has something to do with racism. And this small town basically were saying that no, that they're not racist, that there is a guy, there's one of their favorite person is called Blackie, and that they like black, that they call Blackie the N-word, that it's not offensive because he's not offended, so because Blackie is not offended by being called the N-word, so it must be okay. And I couldn't even be mad at that guy because he lives in a very small town. He probably hasn't been out. He doesn't know to the extent. He doesn't know. Some of them are still stuck in the 90s. They're still stuck in the turn of the century. They don't really understand that such things are offensive anymore. So that is why I am happy whenever America, or I'm happy about the approach that America continues to use by addressing it head on. Because if you don't address it head on, if you keep sweeping it under the rug and being tired of it, people will not learn. People wouldn't know that what they're saying or what they're doing is actually racist or has racial undertone. And so, yeah, that is what I like. But in the UK, it is so subtle. Nobody talks about it. Everybody just pretends. And that makes me physically ill. If you're the kind of person who is very open and you're already coming from North America, like I'm used to a certain lifestyle, it just really always rubbed me the wrong way about that country. I mean, honestly. And it's funny. Also, hearing the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, basically calling these people out and telling them to go back, to crawl back into the cage from whence they came. It makes me laugh because he's the leader of the cage people. Sorry, the cave people. Boris Johnson is the leader of the cave people. If not, because if Trump had won a second time, I always say this, and people who don't understand how how society works, they always disagree with me. Trust me, Boris Johnson now that just seemed like he's so tame now, this man would have been worse had Trump won a second time, because Trump definitely legitimized their behavior. Trump legitimized their racism and made it okay for them to be openly racist, you know, because it was what the president of the United States was doing, and people seem to like it. At least half of the country seem to like it, or a quarter, however many of them who liked Trump's behavior. So I really feel like the reason why Boris Johnson now is so tamed, let's say, for example, if this whole situation, this whole racist attack had happened under Trump's presidency and Boris Johnson is still prime minister, trust me, he wouldn't have come out to say anything like that. He would not have come out to call these people out, because he's greatly influenced by what happens in the US, by the American political landscape. That's what influences his behavior. So all of a sudden now, Boris Johnson wants to rewrite history and acts like he's a crusader for the anti-racism movement. And it's ridiculous. And that really made me laugh, telling them to crawl back to the cave. Really, like, you should be one of them. Like, you should actually be the leader of the cavemen, because everything that you have done up until recently has shown that like, this man Boris Johnson literally told the fans to boo any players who took a kneel during the national anthem. Like, what kind of a divider in chief is that? What kind of a divider in chief orders fans to boo their players? Oh, it's not even like a different country now. Boo any player that you see taking a knee, fighting for injustice. Like, what kind of a divider is that? So yeah, it's when people like Boris Johnson, or even now the royal family, when they say anything, try to be anti-racism, whatever, I never take them seriously. I think they are full of shit, honestly. Aflake says these three lads were brilliant throughout the tournament. They deserve support and backing, not the vile racist abuse they have had. It's unfortunate. I agree. They've played excellent. They did an amazing job, I had no dog in the fight, but just watching different clips, I think they did fantastic job. It's a penalty when you like it. I think I always say this. When I was younger, I used to say, "Oh, penalties are so easy." But now, as I got older, I have now come to realizing that, shooting the penalty kick is like the hardest thing, because all eyes are on you. Everybody's looking at you. Like, if you screw this up, like if you were just playing, if it was just regular play, right? And you manage to score, you're lucky enough to score, and then that's a different thing. But once it's like a one-on-one between you and the keeper and the goal, everyone is looking at you. You lose, you make a mistake, that's it. It's a lot harder to play a penalty kick than to just play regular soccer. That is what I have come to understand. So it was not easy. It was a fight to the death. They should even be happy that for the first time their country actually made it. For the first time, their country actually made it to the finals, and not be attacking, the black people who were in the team for not being, like, honestly, would they have attacked the white people if those ones had played it? I guess next time they should leave the black people out of it, because it's so funny. Just like the pundit said, if they had won, they would have been, all the black people who participated, who played in the game, would have been, they would have been British, celebrated as British. But now, because they didn't win, and those people, the black people in the game, they lost the penalty kicks, And all of a sudden, they're being told to go back to their country. They're being told to sort of, they've been called monkeys and called all kinds of things. Like, honestly, the UK, ugh, you can't pay me enough to go to that country. You cannot pay me to go to that country. Honestly, when I don't even know how people live there. I've been there 3 times, and every time I always leave that place feeling sick. It's not even about anything. It's just the racism going on in that country that you can't speak about anything. You can't. You can't even speak about it, you know. They'll gaslight you and make you seem like you're crazy because it's so covert. So yeah, kudos to the guys. And now what they're planning to do is to like get the information of the racist and all, as if that's going to really do anything. What's that going to do? It has to come from the top. People at the top needs to condemn racism more. Okay, need to condemn racism more. If you don't condemn it from the top, if you don't do something about it from the top, it'll continue. I like Honestly, it makes me laugh when I see comments from the royal family addressing it. These are institutionally racist people. The royal family wouldn't even hire minorities. The royal family wouldn't even hire minorities to handle their business, to work in their organization. And so they want to come out and talk about diversity. Like we've all heard these things, you know. So if they really want to put an end to racism, they have to start from the beginning. They have to start from the top. The people at the top need to start calling out racist. They need to start from the beginning. They need to start from the top. You know, when Boris Johnson is telling fans, soccer fans, to boo any player that they see taking a knee as a protest against racial injustice, when the whole prime minister of a country is encouraging football fans to take a knee, to boo people who are taking a knee, that tells you that the fish rot from the head down. That tells you that the fish rot from the head down. So if a change is if a change is to happen, it must happen from the top. It must happen from the prime minister. Okay? And he has to start by making people know it's not okay. He has to be fine. He has to come out and openly say that it's okay for people to protest racial injustice, even if it means kneeling down. And he has to make them understand that he understands that those people are not unpatriotic by taking a kneel during a national anthem. I mean, if they were so unpatriotic, why would they even be playing for England? If they were so unpatriotic. So that's the thing that I do not understand. So if he is really going to, he has to first of all denounce the people that were also booing the players for taking a knee. He cannot do that. He can't do that and think people are not going to react, because a lot of these people, like you said, they have very low they are very low IQ for the most part. And this is not me shaming them or whatever. They do have very low IQ, you know, and so they are easily manipulated, they are easily taken advantage of, they are easily misled, easily deceived. So it's very easy for them to be misled into thinking that what the prime minister is telling them is the right thing. And because they have very low IQ, they are more inclined to believe whatever the prime minister, or even act on whatever the prime minister tells them to do. So he needs to stop shaming um, players who are taking the knee. He needs to stop shaming them. That is what he needs to do. And he needs to stop sending his attack racist dogs after them. And so he's telling them to crawl back to their cave. He needs to follow suit and crawl back to his own cave as well, because he is the originator of all of these things, at least part of it. On that note, you guys, this is where I'm going to end this. I wanted to quickly do this, so kudos to those guys. They did an excellent job. I don't care what anyone says. They did a fantastic job. It was not an easy match, and they carried their team all the way to the finals. At the end of the day, it's a game. One person must win. It's funny to me how, if they had won, they would have been fine, accepted as British. But now, because they didn't win, and now they've been called monkeys and told to go back to their countries, like, gosh, you people are crazy. You're crazy. I feel like I says, and their level of hypocrisy is very glaring. The Home Security tweeted she's disgusted at the abuse just weeks after she criticized players for taking the knee against racism. Yeah, it's hypocrisy. They are very, very hypocritical, and that's the reason why we have to call them out. They're sending mixed messages to their, poorly educated fans and followers. It's ridiculous. It's sickening. The fish rot from the head down. If the Prime Minister of the UK wants to really address racism, he must first apologize to the to the players who he sent his attack dogs to go after, who he was condemning for taking the knee. So he must first of all apologize to them for abusing them, for attacking them, for taking the knee. That is a good way to start. That is a good place to start, Mr. Prime Minister Boris Johnson. So yeah, anyways, that's how I'm going to end this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Please like this video if you're catching this later on in playback. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.